Director for Africa, Madam Catherine, told journalists that the request for additional financing and the amount Kenya is seeking will be a key item during the upcoming review mission expected in December.
Interesting, and this shows that Kenya is actually not wasting any time.
Yeah.
They've actually tapped into like around a 2.1 billion, like dollar billions, and from the ongoing IMF program, including the substantial drawdown actually for around $410. That was approved the flowing conclusion in around the 5th review.
Yeah, for Kenyan authorities, this is steadfastly addressing this and collaborating with the International Monetary Fund to make sure that this is done. The World Bank and other donors to further strengthen the economy program will, which they have been, of course, very much committed to, and they are working towards securing additional funding while implementing fiscal measures in order to address some of the funding requirements. That's according to Madam Catherine. This revelation, the IMF, comes amid the appointment of Citi and Standard Bank as lend arrangers for the Kenya's planned return to the global markets for a new Eurobond. The Central Bank of Kenya has indicated that the government is leaning more towards tapping into concessional financing in order to settle the maturing obligations. Gloria, when you look at some of the East African countries, we have a lot of countries in debt, and Kenya is the leading country when it comes to debt. This Eurobond story has been a long one. There's been a lot of back and forth in order to pay one Eurobond using another Eurobond, which I think, to me, we should come back to domestic lenders.
Exactly.
What do you think? Don't you think if we could borrow domestically rather than going for these Eurobonds, we could be doing much better?
I feel like we could be doing better, actually.
Well, when you look at the rate at which lending is going down in the East African countries, it is quite worrying. If we could have at least more bonds issued by governments within the East African markets, that could also help raise money. But unfortunately, on the flip side, more domestic borrowing would also get us in a position of crowding out the private sector. Looking at what happened in 2020 and 2021, many investors really got to buy bonds, lending to government. However, that was at the expense of the private sector, as the interest rates were going up like crazy, as you could see. But if Kenya succeeds in unlocking this additional financing from the development finance institutions, it will be the latest in a series of augmentations of the existing programs, which have been seen in the countries in order to tap into cheaper credit from, for example, institutions like Bretton Woods institutions in the different other countries.
Exactly, and the IMF have actually even extended Kenya's program by 10 months, and it is to be started in the lapse in around 2025.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's quite the commitment from Kenya. They're not just seeking external funds, but they're also implementing fiscal measures to address some of their funding requirements.
Yeah. In May also, Kenya tapped into a program, Kenya's program with IMF. They tapped into a $1 billion credit facility from the World Bank. This was revised from the initial $750 million owing to the country's requirement of around the budget support. The 5th review of Kenya's program with the International Monetary Fund in July also saw the current program being augmented with at least an additional $551 million through the fund's resilience and sustainability facility. In its latest forecast, the IMF downgraded Kenya's economic growth projections for 2023 from 5.3% projected in April to 5.0%. This is not so good news from IMF. I don't know if they're using this as a threat, but doesn't sound so good to me.
Exactly, but they're taking quite a much prolonged approach in this. And it's often a wise strategy when it comes to economic matters, and it shows how serious they are in terms of tackling their challenges head on. You know, according to what you say, that Kenya has been an important player in Africa's economic landscape, and their decisions can have a ripple effects across the continent, actually. And the negotiations with the IMF and other institutional organizations will be closely watched by other nations facing similar challenges.
No. Also, the Eurobond issue is something I think government should reconsider, given the high interest rates. For example, the yields on Kenya's 10-year Eurobond maturing 2024 in June, like we are mentioning here, are hovering between 18.4 and 18.7% this month. That is a very hefty, that looks like an interbank interest rate, doesn't it? Look at the data published by Central Bank of Kenya. It's showing that they are reflecting the risking investors on placing Kenya's short-term date on the Euro bond. Kenya has repeatedly also reassured investors that it will refinance the debut of the 10-year Eurobond, ruling out the possibility of a sovereign default. Now, President William Ruto's recent comments during the United Nations General Assembly calling for debt restructuring, I think this is where we have the gist. The East African countries should be looking more at getting domestic revenue and also domestic lending. Otherwise, the interest rates on the international markets, 18%, are hilarious. Exactly. Imagine, Gloria, you go into a bank right now, the interest rates are at 18%, and the government that is providing these services, health services, education services, is also borrowing money at 18%.
Interesting.
How could that be possible? So I think we, as East African countries and governments, we should heed to Ruto's call and restructure debt, restructure how we are accessing funds, and also create opportunities within our economies to be able to ensure sustainability of our funding.
Exactly, and this situation also highlights the interconnectedness of our global markets, actually. So tightness in one part of the world can affect borrowing opportunities for governments actually miles away. Yeah. So it's like a global financial ecosystem. Exactly, and everything is connected. Actions in one corner can trigger actions in the other corner. And Kenya is focused on strengthening their program. Their economic program is actually commendable. It shows they're actually willing to take the necessary steps in addressing their financial obligations.
Absolutely. And yes, as we're going to see later on when we go to Zambia, similar stories of them struggling with debt repayment. But I think it's high time we also got to South Africa and have a look at what the economies are doing. Gloria, what do you have for us in South Africa?
Well, in South Africa, we shall be looking at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and see how they actually performed as of yesterday.
Well, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is one of those stock exchanges I firmly believe is a benchmark stock exchange for Africa, with one of the highest number of listings, one of the biggest market activity. When you look at their activity within the last couple of years, they have been resilient. Also, the edge, the stock exchange being established in 1887 is a quite very, very momentous occasion for the African continent. And we do believe that the stock exchanges like Johannesburg Stock Exchange do depict the spirit of Africa in terms of investment. So what did we have for the Wednesday trading?
Well, as of yesterday's trading session, we had a total of around 730 million shares that were traded in around 797 deals. This actually corresponds to a market value of around 16 billion rands.
That's amazing. And what do we have for the gainers and losers lists?
Looking at the gainers, the top gainers actually Actually, we're looking at what participated in yesterday's trading session. We had around 311 JSE listed equities.
No.
So we had around 147 gainers and 147 losers. So equal numbers there. So from the gainers, Greenroad Shipping led the gainers with around 30.7% share price appreciation, closing at around 222.85 rands per share. And we had also Labat Africa with 28.57% share price appreciation. We had Africa and Overseas Enterprise shares with around 20% share price appreciation. And we also came in with RFG Holdings with 11.7% share price appreciation.
No.
So what do we have from the losing side?
Well, this South Africa gives us a multi-dimensional outlook on the different industries. They do have a number of financial institutions on the lists. They have mining companies. They do have the services and hotels industries. And looking at the current movements, we are seeing Growth Point Properties, for example, recording the highest volume. And Growth Property Enterprises is indeed a real estate investment company with a total property portfolio of close to 139 billion rand and the largest South African listed property company by value, market value, with over about 34.9 billion rand listed on the exchange. The health of the real estate industry in South Africa is currently at stake, given the current pressures on their currency, the rand, but also as we're going to see now in one of the latest reports coming in from South Africa, the rand was little changed, early traded on Friday, stabilizing after a very, very volatile week this week. The rand traded at around, against the dollar, not so far from 19 rand per dollar. And on the weekend, on the risk aversion, it was linked to especially the Israeli-Palestine conflict before gaining sharply on Tuesday and Wednesday and lower on the U.S. Treasury yields and dovish comments as well. Now, South Africa's currency dropped again on Thursday as the U.S. inflation rose after the data that we are going to analyze later on, of course, with an increase of 3.7% as we are going to look at later on. But still looking at the South African market, things look a little bit better this morning as the South African rand is stabilizing around 19 rand per United States dollar. Analysts also say the next big local market event will be the mid-term budget on the 1st of November, when South Africa's deteriorating public finances will be in the spotlight. South Africa's benchmark 2030 government bond was slightly weaker in the early deals, and the yield was up by 3.5 basis points to over 10.705%. Yeah.
It's actually fascinating to see how these geopolitical events could have such an immense impact on the currency markets.
Yeah.
No, but then the rand actually gained sharply on Tuesday and Wednesday. So those gains on Tuesday and Wednesday can be attributed to the lower U.S. Treasury bonds on a dovish comments by the Federal Reserve officials. When the U.S. Treasury yields dip, it can make the rand more attractive for the investors.
Yeah, there's always a correlation in the market. I mean, the U.S. controls the world economy, and the inflation going up in U.S. means a lot for the biggest market in Africa, that is the South African market. So it does translate into what we are seeing currently on the rand's strength against the US dollar and the market performance as we are seeing it.
Exactly, and when this inflation rises unexpectedly, it can have an adverse effect on all currencies, and mixed local economic data can certainly contribute to market certainty.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this segment, it's also, let's not mention like around South Africa's benchmark 2030 government bond that we talked about, which had around 3.5 basis points, resting at around 10.705%.
Yeah, the J203, that's the benchmark index, has over 200 stocks, and it dropped at least 458.72 points down to 73,390 points, representing 1 week gains of 3.01%. South Africa still has quite a number of products like we are seeing in the Nairobi markets here in East Africa, and the J203 is one of those very, very good indices to look at in case you want to invest in derivatives such as those tailored to companies in the J203. But other indices like the FTSE, JSE, that is at the Financial Times, it's still at a gain of 0.75%. This index now tracks the stocks that are both listed on JSE but also on the UK stock exchanges. And then we have the small cap index for the smaller companies in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange market. It dropped about 0.54%. And when you look at the mid cap, those that are in the middle between the big capitalization companies and the small ones, it also dropped about 0.54%, whereas the large cap, now for the big boys, dropped about 0.66%.
Exactly, and this is showing various movements on the gains and losses around the week time.
Yep.
So looking at their turnover, actually they took a hit, whereby we had around 25% depreciation, and the number of deals dropped by around 12%.
Yep.
The market capitalization, as we said, is now standing at 16.6 trillion rands. And when we look at the flip side of our losers, as of yesterday, we had Ellie's Holdings that had quite a tough day, closing with 14.29% price depreciation. And other notable losers include Finboard Group and Delta Property Fund and Inks Group.
All right, I think that's it from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Maybe before we go into the break, if you could give us a little bit about Lusaka, what's happening in Zambia. We do have a story on Zambia's signing a debt deal with creditors, according to the International Monetary Fund chief. But what is currently happening in Lusaka, Gloria?
Anthony, I think before actually we cross to Lusaka, I think we should give our viewers a little insight on some of the top gainers from South Africa. Some people may not know what the company is actually about, what they do and all that. So what do you think about that?
Well, the top gainers, like I mentioned earlier, South Africa has quite a number of listings industry-wise. We still had the real estate take the lead, as well as other enterprises and financial technologies, including Green Drop Shipping, Labat Africa, African and overseas enterprises lead the gainers, as well as RFG Holdings. Those were some of the top performers. Industry-wise, still real estate is doing much better, like Growth Point Properties coming in with a huge volume of over 19.8 million, and FirstRand coming in at 14.9 million rand.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Lusaka, if you don't mind.
So crossing off to the Lusaka Stock Exchange, and from that short insight we got from their stock exchanges, we had quite a number of influence. So we'll be back from the short break and give you a lot more from there. Wait, I'm using this.
Smart 24, driving business.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasan Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasan Hotels, luxury redefined.
The Green Hydrogen Project in the UAE, specifically at the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, is the groundbreaking initiative in the Middle East and North African region. The Green Hydrogen Project is a collaborative effort involving several key stakeholders. It was implemented through a partnership between the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, DEWA, Expo in 2020, and Siemens Energy. This partnership reflects the commitment of both government entities and private industry to advancing green hydrogen technology. The pilot plant for this project is situated at the outdoor testing facilities of the R&D Center at the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park. This location is significant as it leverages the abundant solar energy resources available in the region to power the production of green hydrogen.
This is Dr. Ali Al-Alili, the Vice President of Research and Development from Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. So let me talk to you a little bit about the power plant that you visited this morning. It's the green hydrogen plant. DEWA, which is Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, implemented this project at Mohammed bin Rashid Solar Park. And it came as a result of collaboration with Expo 2020 Dubai and Siemens Energy. It's actually the first of its kind in the MENA region and North Africa to produce hydrogen using solar energy. So we designed this plant to accommodate actually future applications of hydrogen, and it's helping us as a testing facility at the research center. And as you know, the hydrogen has multiple applications, and the way we produce this hydrogen is through a process called water electrolysis, which is basically splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. And in order to do this, you need electricity. And the attractive thing about this plant is that it's getting this electricity from solar energy. So all of this is actually in line with Dubai Clean Energy Strategy 2050. That is to provide 100% of the energy in the Emirates of Dubai from clean energy resources by the year 2050.
Green hydrogen is produced through a process called electrolysis, which involves an electric current to split water into oxygen and hydrogen. In this case, the electricity needed for the process is generated for renewable energy sources, primarily solar power. This makes the hydrogen production process environmentally friendly as it avoids the carbon emissions associated with the traditional hydrogen production methods. The pilot plant is designed not only for the current production of green hydrogen, but also to accommodate future applications and test platforms. This flexibility suggests that the UAE has long-term plans for green hydrogen in various sectors, including industry and transportation. The reference to China as the leading consumer of hydrogen with an annual capacity of more than 10,000 metric tons underscores the global significance of the hydrogen market. China's substantial consumption highlights the growing demand for hydrogen as a clean energy carrier and the potential for its adoption on a large scale. The UAE's strategy to reduce 6.5 million tons of carbon dioxide likely relates to its broader sustainability and climate goals. By producing green hydrogen using renewable energy, the UAE can contribute to the reduction in carbon emissions, as hydrogen can be used as a clean energy source in various sectors, including transportation and industry. Overall, the green hydrogen project in the UAE represents a significant step forward in the region's effort to transition to green energy sources and reduce carbon emissions. It demonstrates the UAE's commitment to innovation, sustainability in the energy sector.
Hello tech lovers, obviously we are back with another tech bite, and this time around guys, technology is getting to a bigger and bigger level. We are going from one phantom to the other. Now this tech bite, I introduced to you what we call the smart glasses. Guys, things are getting out of innovation spaces. You need to be at watch. For example, Mark Zuckerberg has already proclaimed his aim to one day ship a pair of smart glasses that does both, but also still feels several generations away. Can you imagine, guys? Now, Meta has invested over 36 billion in research and development in the metaverse so far, to seemingly little benefit. Now, for comparison, Apple spent just over $150 million in research and development to invent the new iPhone. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen? Now, when we ask about whether the 36 billion could have been better spent on researching AI, a Meta spokesperson told Sky News that they spend money on AI, and they have been working on AI for over a decade. So I think it's hard to quantify anything in that way. So following Meta's announcement of a new chatbot coming to its Messenger app, the spokesperson said they were confident they were keeping pace in the AI arms race against Microsoft and Google. I think we are just doing different things. That's what he mentioned, and he added that we are pretty comfortable with how we are progressing. Guys, alongside the Quest 3, Meta has also updated its Ray-Ban stories and smart glasses. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting on fire with AI. These do not project images, but they simply capture them. Now, 2 tiny cameras will be built in the chassis of the pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses, which will record the world around you without you even having to take your phone out. Now, this is interesting. You don't have to take your phone out to record whatever you're recording. Are you live on Instagram? Use those smart glasses to record whatever you want to record. Now, these smart glasses, ladies and gentlemen, they do not project images, but they rather capture them. Now, as I mentioned, the last generation of smart glasses was not a roaring success, with one report published last month saying that 90% of customers stopped using theirs shortly after the purchase. So Meta has come with a very verified version. Now, this will be improved cameras on the Ray-Ban glasses. Microphone chips will be built also on the Ray-Ban glasses. Built-in speakers won't only be just there, but they will also be operating for you to record thoroughly and efficiently. This will be enough to make anyone have an attractive proposition for content creators, those who love to make content. This is an opportunity for you to get yourself the new smart glasses. Now, with the Instagram generation family in mind, the spectacles now only shoot in portrait mode without the option of landscape. As someone who works in traditional TV news, I found it a shame to lose the landscape feature, but the logic behind makes a lot of sense. Now, serial Instagrammers, serial TikTokers will appreciate the changes. Obviously, they will love these glasses, but whether the general public will or not remains to be seen. The built-in speakers situated in the glasses offered good quality music. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Bluetooth music. Playback, of course, which also looks at the heavy tracks during your content creation. Now, to me, ladies and gentlemen, this
Smart 24, driving business.
We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for remaining with us. This is still Financial Markets. We are still giving you updates on what is happening in the different financial markets. My name is Anthony, and I'm together with
Chiberu Victor.
Now, let's take a leap into the international markets and have a look at what the Federal Reserve says about the inflation data.
So, of course, coming back with the global financial news, our highlights of this particular segment is the Fed staying patient after inflation as odds rise on a December rate hike. So Thursday's inflation report showed prices in September rising at roughly the same pace as seen in August. But when removing volatile categories like food, energy, and shelter, economists see a downward trend in price, and of course it is increasing, and it shows a welcome sign for a Federal Reserve that had spent the days ahead of this data indicating a bias against raising interest rates, and again this is within November.
Yeah, still this data shows that the Federal Reserve has work to do in bringing inflation back to its 2% target, keeping the possibility of an interest rate increase in December in focus for investors. As of Thursday morning, markets were pricing in a 12% chance the Federal Reserve hikes in November, down from a 41% chance a month ago. Data from the CME group showed, and the chances of a December rate hike rose, however, to 37% from 26% following the September inflation reading.
So, of course, the underlying trend in inflation is still down. And as written by Michael Pierce, the lead U.S. economist at Oxford Economics, in reaction to Thursday's release, this report will not change the message from Fed's officials over recent days that they can afford to be patient. And as of last Friday's jobs report, it showed the U.S. labor market remaining tight, with employers adding more jobs than expected, while wages grew at their slowest pace in more than 2 years.
With the rising yields, the Fed's higher for longer interest rate stance weighing on stocks. Comments from the Fed officials following the jobs reports suggested many in the central bank see the market's moves in part doing the Fed's work for them, and this is, according to the officials, one of the things that could lead the Fed not to raise interests in November.
Well, let us hope that shift on the Fed's being patient. Of course, we know that the inflation rate within the US alone can affect the dollar, and the dollar's reaction to global currencies can as well turn out to be tragic. So do you think that them being patient has any way it might affect African markets in general?
Yes, like we were looking at Johannesburg, the war in Israel had a very huge impact on the rand, and this was just the beginning. When the inflation data was released like this at in the United States, showing that inflation had gone up for the month of September, the rand was even hit further. Other currencies like the yen followed suit. The yen was one of those that also was sliding back, now trading at 149 US dollars per yen. And the dollars growing stronger, weakening other currencies is what we are seeing the inflation data has had as an impact primarily. And as you mentioned, Africa is not an exception. There is a need to tighten our support. There is need to tighten our policies, and given the Monetary Policy Committee statement that we saw also by Bank of Uganda this week earlier, our inflation has also been going up, especially the headline inflation. That includes both the food and oil prices. Oil prices have been going up, as you have seen. Now, doesn't this already communicate that it wasn't a surprise at all on Thursday when the Federal Reserve Bank actually came out and said the inflation in the US is going up? The pressure was already being felt here in Africa. We are usually the secondary in terms of feeling the effects of some of these movements.
Yes. Thank you so much for that insight. And of course, you know, opinions on the reaction of the US dollar against other foreign currencies can be very individual. You might have your own understanding of how the market might behave, and that of course will determine your decision making. But moving on to our top stories, where most of the concentration is as we speak, we're looking at treasuries, we're looking at oil jump as Middle East conflicts rages, and of course the market wrap. So treasuries rallied, and the crude oil rose on signs Israel is preparing for a ground invasion on Gaza, and the 10-year Treasury yield dropped 5 basis points, pairing some of Thursday's sharp rise in the wake of hotter than expected U.S. inflation data. Brent crude rose more than 2% and headed for the biggest weekly gain in 6 on fears the Israel-Hamas war could destabilize the Middle East and crimp global supply. Now, of course, this comes as an escalation of Israel's war with Hamas, drawing in Iran, and could send crude oil to $150 a barrel and cut about $1 trillion off world economic output, and according to economics from Bloomberg. Meanwhile, the prospect of high for low U.S. interest rates and continued weakness in China's economy also weighed an on-risk appetite. And looking at swapped contracts, of course, they pushed the odds of another quarter point, and Fed hiked to about 40% from closer to 30% on Wednesday after hot U.S. consumer price data. So looking at the Europe stocks, what exactly are you seeing?
Well, in Europe, when you look at starting with Asian, because the Asian markets really do influence some of the European markets. The Asian equities were also hurt as China's trade data was only slightly better than the expectations. The authorities are now also considering forming a state-backed stabilization fund to shore up confidence in the nation's $9.5 trillion stock market. China waived new stabilization fund in order to prop up some of the stock market, and this is to hedge on the risks that could be coming from the Israel-Gaza war or conflict that has already been witnessed in other markets.
Yes.
The Eurozone, for example, on Friday, industrial production was down in Europe, and because of the conflict, we are seeing so many European countries taking sides with Britain and pro-Britain countries going to support Israel, and then other countries, the smaller countries, especially the European Union, like the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and other Siberia, going to side with Gaza and Palestine. And that also coming to push through the different stock markets. But as of the United States, when you look at the big indices, the S&P 500, for example, futures rose to by 0.1% as of 6:52 a.m. today, London time, and the S&P 500 fell by 0.6%. The futures rose, but the index fell by 0.6%. The Nasdaq 100 futures were little changed, while the Nasdaq 100 stocks dropped by 0.4%. Japan's Topix index fell by 1.7%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell by about 2.4%. The Shanghai Composite also fell by 0.8%, while Euro Stoxx 50 futures fell about 0.3%.
Now, in a summary, of course, of all European stocks, we are looking at how they dipped while US futures edged higher. The third quarter earnings season is starting on Friday with reports from JP Morgan Chase and Company, Citigroup Inc., and Wells Fargo and Company. The Stoxx Europe 600 slipped about 0.2%, though gains for energy stocks moderated that decline. Among individual movers, we're looking at TRYG-AS that jumped as much as 4.6% after the Danish insurer reported an earnings beat. We're looking at Ubisoft, and of course their gaming advancements. And Ubisoft Entertainment advanced after the UK approved Microsoft Corp's deal to buy Activision Blizzard. Following the US tech giant's offer to sell some gaming rights to the French video game maker, Sartorius AG plunged after the electronic maker cut guidance. So moving deeper into the Microsoft deal and what they cleared to buy Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard. Of course, this is going to affect stocks greatly. We are looking at Google, we are looking at Sony, we're looking at Meta, we're looking at all. Actually, Tesla itself might be affected by this. So getting into brief insights, Microsoft's revised offer to buy Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard has been approved by UK regulators. Meanwhile, this approval has been pending for up to 5 weekdays. So the Competition and Markets Authority said the deal addressed its concerns after the watchdog blocked the original $69 billion or 59 billion euros bid in April. Of course, the moment this deal is finalized, it's going to be the biggest gaming deal ever signed. So we're expecting that it is going to take Microsoft's stock higher and of course make it really worthy that the investors are involved in a deal like that.
Yeah, Activision in August agreed to sell its streaming rights to Ubisoft Entertainment, and Microsoft last month offered remedies to ensure that the terms of sale were enforceable by the regulator, soothing some residual concerns. The approvals paved the way for Microsoft to close the deal, and by October 18th, we hope this deal will be closed after it extended the deadline by 3 months in July to secure the UK approval. The Competitions and Markets Authority said Microsoft's concession on streaming was a game changer, adding that it was the only competition agency globally to have delivered this sort of outcome.
Now, of course, CMA Chief Executive Sarah Cardell said businesses and their advisors should be in no doubt that the tactics employed by Microsoft are no way to engage with the CMA. Microsoft had the chance to restructure during our initial investigation, but instead it continued to insist on a package of measures that we told them simply wouldn't work. Dragging out proceedings in this way only wastes time and money.
Yeah, and Activision Blizzard also said that the CMA's official approval is very great news for the future of Microsoft, and they look really forward to becoming part of the Xbox team very, very soon.
Of course. Now, moving straight into more stories on commodities within the global market. Any information on that, Anthony?
Yeah, well, in terms of the global markets, in terms of the commodities, especially the metals and the gold, we've seen the gold shoot up very recently. Gold markets have been shooting up. Thanks to the war in Israel, of course, it's not truthfully speaking, but when you look at the gold market has been going up, and gold has been one of those items that has improved in terms of pricing at now currently $1,888 per ounce, 5.6 increase in the price there, and silver at $22.2 per ounce, whereas the crude oil also went up to $84.12 at a $1.21 rise just as per yesterday.
Well, moving on to, you already actually gave us insights on the S&P, but the S&P futures are actually looking at a 4,375.50, and looking at its effects all the way from COVID. We are seeing improvements. But the surprising thing about that war is, as so many people expected, that it being a Middle East engagement, it's going to affect a lot the crude oil movement, and of which crude oil and the gold are kind of the same thing. The moment they're affected within the market, it kind of causes a spiral around everything. But and in this particular situation, we are noticing that it is not even the war at this point that is affecting the movement of these prices. It is actually the communication made by the Middle East oil big dogs to deliberately limit the oil supply. So, any information on how exactly that went down?
Yes, crude oil has been an issue. The Middle East has been holding large gallons of, millions of gallons of oil with Russia during this war. Remember, crude oil and oil pricing in tandem, and the fact that there's a lot of the rising prices of crude oil. Victor, I think to wind up our segment here, let's have a look at the Zambian bonds that have been currently trading on the different platforms that we have across Africa. Zambia and IMF are looking at opening up a new euro bond, and this is very unfortunate because we as Africa are looking at going very low on borrowing internationally and borrowing on more concessional basis, especially domestically. What would be your view of Zambia's move?
Well, it is certainly a little saddening because we are all aware of Zambia's position with IMF. We understand the terms that they are going through to make a decision like that. But not forgetting that their particular venture in making this particular decision might affect their economy greatly. Zambia is not a country that is having an economy that is doing quite well, and actually looking through the Lusaka Stock Exchange, we're seeing how we're seeing 1 to none movements within that particular market. They go day by day. Actually, as this week is closing, we're seeing that market hasn't had any change. Every stock is the same price as the session begins, as the session ends. So looking on the brighter side, if all goes well, this particular move might bring up positive results.
Zambia has signed this debt deal with its foreign lenders, according to the IMF's chief announcement on this Thursday. And Zambia had reached an agreement in principle with its creditors, which included China and Western nations like the United States, on $6.3 billion of its debt in June, but it had not yet finalized this particular deal. However, with the finalization and announcement of the IMF boss, there is, of course, already paperwork underway in order to have this deal passed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this particular segment. We are going to take our very last break, and we'll be having a roundup in the last few minutes. We take a quick break. We'll return shortly. Bye for now.
Smart 24, driving business.
Pay or shop with MTN Momo and get cashback every week. It's free of charge.
Wano nno tuli Bukoto era lero wetugenda okugaba pichipichi yaffe eri omuwanguzi waffe wano wetuzze.
I'm so excited and I'm sure even all the people, all the staff at Kwaliwath are all excited. We thank you very, very much.
Myaka 25 nga MTN eweereza naye nga buli week tugaba pichipichi 5.
Very, very excited. I'm excited about MTN giving back to its customers. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much, MTN.
The fact that we have won really shows that people like Mama. Their services are really nice. MTN, your services are okay. The network is good. We are satisfied.
Chikola sense ne?
Use the Momo app or dial *165 *3#.
Cooking oil like no other makes a meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste.
Hello tech lovers, obviously we are back with another tech bite, and this time round guys, technology is getting to a bigger and bigger level. We are going from one phantom to the other. Now this tech bite, I introduced to you what we call the smart glasses. Guys, things are getting out of innovation spaces. You need to be at watch. For example, Mark Zuckerberg has already proclaimed his aim to one day ship a pair of smart glasses that does both, but also still feels several generations away. Can you imagine, guys? Now, Meta has invested over 36 billion in research and development in the metaverse so far, to seemingly little benefits. Now, for comparison, Apple spent just over $150 million in research and development to invent the new iPhone. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen? Now, when we ask about whether the 36 billion could have been better spent on researching AI, a Meta spokesperson told Sky News that they spend money on AI and they have been working on AI for over a decade. So I think it's hard to quantify anything in that way. So following Meta's announcement of a new chatbot coming to its Messenger app, the spokesperson said they were confident they were keeping pace in the AI arms race against Microsoft and Google. I think we are just doing different things. That's what he mentioned. And he added that we are pretty comfortable with how we are progressing. Guys, alongside the Quest 3, Meta has also updated its Ray-Ban stories and smart glasses. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting on fire with AI. These do not project images, but they simply capture them. Now, 2 tiny cameras will be built in the chassis of the pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses, which will record the world around you without you even having to take your phone out. Now, this is interesting. You don't have to take your phone out to record whatever you're recording. Are you live on Instagram? Use those smart glasses to record whatever you want to record. Now, these smart glasses, ladies and gentlemen, they do not project images, but they rather capture them. Now, as I mentioned, the last generation of smart glasses was not a roaring success, with one report published last month saying that 90% of customers stopped using theirs shortly after the purchase. So Meta has come with a very verified version. Now, this will be improved cameras on the Ray-Ban glasses. Microphone chips will be built also on the Ray-Ban glasses. Built-in speakers won't only be just there, but they will also be operating for you to record thoroughly and efficiently. This will be enough to make anyone have an attractive proposition for content creators, those who love to make content. This is an opportunity for you to get yourself the new smart glasses. Now, with the Instagram generation family in mind, the spectacle now only shoot in portrait mode without the option of landscape. As someone who works in traditional TV news, I found it a shame to lose the landscape feature, but the logic behind makes a lot of sense. Now, serial Instagrammers, serial TikTokers will appreciate the changes. Obviously, they will love these glasses, but whether the general public will or not remains to be seen. The built-in speakers situated in the glasses offered good quality music. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Bluetooth music. Playback, of course, which also looks at the heavy tracks during your content creation. Now, to me, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a very good one for those who love to do content creation, those who love to do live Instagram videos, live TikTok videos. It's an opportunity for you to actually grab yourself the smart glasses. Now, in the world of technology, we bring you the smart glasses. Get yourself a pair and have yourself a very good tech week. Bye-bye.
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back to our final segment of the show, and we are still driving you through the financial markets. And my name is Anthony with
Victor.
Thank you. So, Victor, the cryptocurrency markets have been volatile in the last few days, but now the investors are saying, traders are saying, they are neither bullish nor bearish. What are the details?
Well, Anthony, looking at Bitcoin particularly, as it is the pacemaker of the cryptocurrency world, we are looking at crypto traders expecting the approval of a spot Bitcoin EFT, and it is to reinvigorate the markets, because the markets standing at neither a bullish or a bearish situation is leaving most of the traders in the dark. They don't know what is going to happen, they can't predict, and they can never be sure if the predictions they're making are the right ones. So of course, looking at major tokens such as the EXRP, we're looking at Solana's SOL and BNB chains BNB, and they have stabilized after being in red for a while. So what is your say about it?
Well, crypto markets seem to stabilize in the past 24 hours, following a nearly week-long drop as ongoing geopolitical conflicts seemed to weigh down on the prices of riskier assets, such as the stocks and the treasury bonds. Bitcoin hovered just about $26,800 US mark per coin after losing 3% in the past week, whereas Ethereum or ETH traded over $1,500 US after a 5% weekly hit. Other major tokens stabilized after seeing some losses. XRP and Solana's SOL had dumped as much as 8%, while BNB chains BNB and Dogecoin had performed slightly better with a 3% loss that they registered.
Well, actually, some analysts opened the current price action observed in Bitcoin markets was not necessarily bullish or bearish, and pointed to an equilibrium among buyers and sellers. Of course, looking into economics, we understand that an equilibrium is as well possible, but also it is rather regarded as an assumption looking at a number of market situations. So Bitcoin has recently been in a build phase, and neither particularly bullish nor bearish, said Andy Bromberg, the CEO of Beam, told CoinDesk in an email. At the moment, there is a balance with a few newcomers entering into Bitcoin and equally few existing. So this balance created a relatively stable price. Significant movement is unlikely to happen until after some sort of catalyst, such as the halving or the introduction of spot EFTs, and that was stated by Bromberg himself. And of course, as we were opening, I stated that currently crypto traders are expecting the approval of spot Bitcoin EFT to reinvigorate the market. So any more insights on that?
Meanwhile, part of Friday's stability in the Bitcoin-led market may have come from the confidence in the long-term quality asset after all, an initial sell-off scare. After the exuberance of the last few years, we've seen a large flight to quality, both in terms of providers and assets, according to Mr. Dan Opre, the chief product officer of BAC, noted at CoinDesk. Bitcoin, being the most decentralized and secure asset, has also benefited from flow from the riskier and long tail coins. Bobby Zagota, the U.S. Chief Executive Officer of Bitstamp, said that Bitcoin would continue to be most established, understood and trusted cryptocurrency available for the foreseeable future, adding to that the exchange's active trading clients continued to grow on a week-on-week basis.
Well, thank you very much for those insights, Anthony. Well, also highlighting that as we stand, according to the watch list, the Bitcoin to the USD currently stands at 0.3 and it is an appreciation. Looking at the XRP, it is also paired with the US dollar, it is showing an appreciation of 1.35%.
Yeah.
Now, of course, going back to November 8th, 2020, Sam Bankman-Fried announced that Binance agreed to buy FTX and his competing cryptocurrency exchange, which was in the middle of a meltdown. So the news sent shockwaves through the office of Alameda Research and the crypto trading firm also owned by Sam Bankman-Fried. It arrived at about 11 p.m. in Hong Kong, where the office was located, and we are expecting that to also be one of the reasons that these transactions within the cryptocurrency, and of course we're seeing it is from all the way in November 2020, but the ripple effect is being seen currently as we are seeing no bearish or bullish situation within the market. And as it was highlighted, it is due to little people getting onto the market, and of course balanced with the number of people already in the market.
Yeah, just as we look at these stories, Victor, what is your view of Uganda's embrace of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology? Have Ugandans really woken to the call of a digital currency? Are they embracing it? From your personal experiences with Ugandans?
Well, firstly, highlighting that when Bitcoin was actually at its peak, and we are talking the few months before the COVID surge and a few months after, actually even within the COVID period, we saw crypto take spectacular highs. And in Uganda, of course, so many people gained interest, but the problem came with authorization and regulation. And of course it is quite clear by now that the government failed to come to terms with the people that were operating within this realm, because they needed clear actually visible solutions to things like regulation, to things like risk management, and at the point the cryptocurrency market in Uganda particularly lacked those kinds of solutions. So it affected the market greatly, and of course it involved other people that saw an advantage, that saw it as an advantage to scam and take people's money and use it to their own advantage. So of course it weakened the fan base, and it's going to take the country quite a while, according to me, to recover from something like that and re-embrace cryptocurrency as it develops.
I remember during that period, there were quite a number of coins that also collapsed, including Luna and a couple of other coins. And this was also in the wake of rising Ponzi schemes in Uganda, for example, BLQ, a couple of others that came and scammed people. So people had a very negative view of crypto, and this also forced Bank of Uganda to come out with a very unfriendly regulation that barred the transaction of mobile money to crypto, which was one of the means that crypto was actually gaining ground. Do you think this is still, in effect, one of the biggest challenges crypto has ever faced in Uganda?
Well, it is, but of course we are not blaming it on the cryptocurrency as such, because at the end of the day, what matters is literacy, financial literacy, and knowing more information on the particular investments you're getting into, because crypto works in rather different ways from Forex, and so many people at the time had this excitement. They failed to take time and understand how exactly these markets behave, how are they handling finances, what project coins or project tokens are. There was a lot to learn in the world of cryptocurrency. So as so many Ugandans jumped in, looking at it as a game and slightly a way to make money faster, or rather calling it betting, they had to learn the hard way. But of course, when you make enough research, when you're making investments like that, and continue to understand the particular the particular projects you're putting your money into, you're bound not to face something like that.
Wow, thank you so much, Victor. Thank you, our viewers from 10 a.m. Thank you for still remaining with us. We've, of course, given you an update on most of the markets. The Ugandan market is about to close at 1 p.m. The Kenyan market is still open as we speak right now, as well as the Tanzanian market. Please go ahead and invest, but invest wisely and make sure you make enough research before you move your money into any investment. My name is Anthony. I was with Gloria Nampija and now
Victor Chiberu.
And we are Financial Markets. Smart 24 TV continues to drive your business through quite a number of other shows. So keep around. Have a good day. See you tomorrow, Monday.